15 times, Max Verstappen shocked the world. The name Max Verstappen is synonymous with Formula 1, and the future F1 legend has given us plenty of funny and shocking moments in his career. So, here are 15 times Max Verstappen shocked the world and made history. At number 15, we see a 17-year-old Verstappen get his first taste of F1. As the 2014 season was unfolding, the calendar eventually reached Suzuka in Japan. A young Verstappen just turned 17 years old a few days prior. However, this wasn't going to stop the youngster, as he was ushered into the Toro Rosso Jean-Eric Vergne for FP1. This, in fact, was the first time someone as young as Verstappen had entered the sport in a competitive car. The young Dutch driver made a name for himself and certainly put the Red Bull Academy on notice with his impressive skills. Number 14 is where Verstappen actually forced F1 to rewrite the rulebook. A quick look back at some of the legends of the game, including Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton, shows us that rewriting the rulebook is often part of the success process. With Max Verstappen joining the grid in 2015, he was only 17 and 166 days of age. This made him the youngest driver to ever compete in an F1 race, as he secured the Toro Rosso seat for the rest of the season. The young Dutch driver was looking in great form in 9th place and would have broken another record by securing his first points in his first race at 17. However, disaster struck as Verstappen suffered an engine problem which significantly ruined the plan for the future F1 champion. But this did not discourage the Dutchman, as he shocked the world by making it into Q3 just 2 weeks later in Malaysia. Fortunately for the 17-year-old, this time things went to plan and he became the youngest driver to score a point in an F1 race aged just 17 years and 180 days. Now later, the FIA would change the rule, meaning drivers can now only be eligible for F1 if they're 18 years or older. But his star continued to rise, and many forget that he was yet to earn his road driving license. So, at number 13, we have to include Verstappen driving an F1 car before being roadworthy. With the Dutch law stating that a person can only obtain a full driving license at the age of 18, it was a massive shock to the world when it was revealed that Max Verstappen was scoring points in Formula 1 without having a road driving license. In fact, Max would drive for an almost entire season before finally obtaining his driving license on his 18th birthday. This is perhaps another reason why the FIA had to step in and ensure that drivers have a valid road driving license before being able to enter Formula 1. At number 12, Red Bull shocked the world by promoting Max to the top echelon. Even though Red Bull was not competing with Mercedes, and the dominance of Rosberg and Hamilton was apparent from the start, Red Bull team principal Christian Horner was already thinking of the future. Horner knew that under his direct guidance, Verstappen would be special, and so it proved. Just 4 races into the 2016 season, Max would replace the struggling Danny Kvyat in the second Red Bull car, pairing him up with Daniel Ricciardo, who would later develop an excellent relationship with the young Verstappen. The only problem with Red Bull was that now the pressure was on, and Verstappen had to perform in order to keep his position in the team. Fortunately, he was just getting started. Number 11 is when the world really started taking notice of the young star. During the 2016 Spanish Grand Prix, which was the first race in the Red Bull for Verstappen, he would shock the world once again. Thanks to a crash from the 2 Mercedes drivers on the first lap, Max broke no fewer than 3 records in a single race. He would become the youngest F1 driver to ever lead a race before securing his first ever victory. This earned him 2 more records when he became the youngest F1 driver to win an F1 race, aged just 18 years and 288 days. He added a second record in being the youngest driver to ever secure a podium as well. In fact, his driving on this fateful day in Barcelona can only be described as flawless. And a win wasn't enough, as Max had to prove when he entered the 2016 Brazilian Grand Prix in soaking conditions. At number 10, Max proved just how good he truly is. In a rainy Brazilian Grand Prix, Verstappen had one of the most iconic drives of his career. While many drivers were struggling with the conditions, Max became the youngest ever driver to finish a race with the fastest lap. For his impressive driving, which was synonymous with what the legendary Schumacher often did, he earned third place and another podium, which certainly propelled his status for being not only good in the dry, but also in excruciating wet conditions. All of these records made Max somewhat notorious on the grid, and he capped the season by breaking yet another record thanks to his impressive driving. Our number 9 spot is taken by his sheer aggression. After making the switch from Toro Rosso to Red Bull, Max Verstappen went hunting through the field. In numerous races, he would finish with more than 10 overtakes as he fought his way onto the podium. By the end of the season, Max had overtaken a record 78 cars. This was miles above any other driver on the grid. In fact, he shocked the world by the sheer guts he showed in going for risky overtakes that other drivers were unwilling to perform. Another trait that solidified Max as a future champion. But for Max, records continued to fall as he would focus significantly on his qualifying. And at number 8, the inevitable happened in qualifying. Being the son of Jos Verstappen, Max had already won the hearts and minds of those in the Netherlands. But during the 2019 Formula 1 season, he would become the first ever Dutch driver to earn a pole position. His great driving gave him pole for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Unfortunately, he missed out on being the youngest ever driver to earn pole position. Sebastian Vettel still holds this crown. But aside from the records, we can turn back to the 2016 Brazilian Grand Prix and see Verstappen with one of the best saves ever. At number 7, we see Verstappen overcome a shore crash at Sao Paulo. As the race was unfolding and many drivers spun off, Verstappen had an incident of his own. However, the Dutchman kept his composure and spun 360 degrees at full speed. His control is still admired by some of the top legends like Damon Hill to this day. This was one of the first times Max would show that he was the difference and not the car. Now, all this is great for the record books, but a true show of dominance is often determined by Grand Slam victories. And at number 6, Verstappen was ready to show he was dominant. The 2021 season will be remembered for the rivalry between Hamilton and Verstappen. Max had been winning a few during the season, but no one truly dominated until the calendar hit Austria. Verstappen would claim pole position and drive a flawless race. He led every single lap of the race and finished with the fastest lap for good measure. This was not only his first Grand Slam of his career, but he became the youngest to ever achieve a Grand Slam in an F1 race. Verstappen was just over 23 years old, and it kicked off a dominant season in the battle for F1 dominance. Now, as we enter the top 5, we have to look at a few more recent moments, and few moments come as close as what happened in Abu Dhabi in 2021. Going into the final race of the year on top of the leaderboard was a stressful time for any F1 fan. The message to Hamilton and Verstappen was clear: win the race to become world champion. Unfortunately, Mercedes brought an impressive upgrade package to the Brazilian Grand Prix, allowing Lewis to win both Brazil and Saudi Arabia. In fact, Hamilton was dominant throughout the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. But as the race came to an end, a late safety car would bunch up the field, and upon the restart, Verstappen truly shocked the world with a dive bomb on Hamilton at turn 5. Max held off the Brit for the rest of the lap and would earn himself his first F1 Drivers' Championship. But the true dominance of Verstappen was about to start. And at number 4, we have the entire 2022 F1 season. Going into the season, it was expected that Mercedes was going to launch a challenge. However, this proved to be wrong when Charles Leclerc won the first race in Bahrain. Verstappen and Leclerc continued this game of cat and mouse for the first few races until Monaco hit and Ferrari once again proved their lack of calling strategies. From here, Max dominated and would easily secure the title by the time the Japanese Grand Prix came around. His dominance showed that he was not just lucky in 2021, and Verstappen earned himself his second World Drivers' Championship. Now heading into 2023, Red Bull was the favourite, and Verstappen was to continue his streak. And at number 3, we look at his 2023 performance. With no real competitor, this was the season for Max to dominate. He broke the record for the most podiums in an F1 season by securing 21 podiums and finished every race inside the points. In fact, the worst finish for Verstappen came at the Singapore Grand Prix when the Dutchman failed to crack the podium and only finished 5th. Fortunately, Max rebounded for the rest of the season to remain on the podium. So, at number 2, we have to look at his wins for 2023. As mentioned, the dominance of Max and the Red Bull was truly impressive, and he managed to score in every race. However, Max was not only aiming for the podium and broke 3 more records. He won 15 of the 22 races on the calendar and even had a stint of winning 10 consecutive races. He would end up with 575 points, breaking his record from the previous year of 454. This truly showed the impressive quality of Max as a driver. It also gave Red Bull the initiative to extend the contract of the young star. And our number 1 spot goes to his impressive contract extension. Now, unless you're Hamilton or Michael Schumacher, you rarely get more than a 2-year contract. However, the value of Verstappen forced Red Bull to open up the checkbook. With Verstappen only signed until 2023 and being a world champion, Red Bull offered the then 24-year-old a massive extension that saw him remain at the team until 2028. This lucrative contract is worth a whopping $53.5 million, making it the most expensive Formula One contract in history. But as Verstappen seems to be dominant and many expect him to win at least until the 2026 season, what do you think is the most shocking Verstappen moment? And since Formula One can deliver many shocking moments, make sure to like this video and subscribe so you never miss another shocking moment. Perhaps you'd like to see how Hamilton shocked the world. Let us know in the comments down below.